All right, hello. Welcome to episode 4 of the Weirdest of the Weird podcast. My name is Nathan, and we're in a different location today in terms of recording. Typically, I have a dedicated room in my house that I record, that's more soundproof. But today I'm changing it up a little bit, recording in my room. And I actually just realized a conundrum here. My room isn't exactly soundproof. It's a little bit closer where I'm recording currently in my room. It's a little bit more closer to my window. So it's there is a lot of cars that do pass by. So apologies in advance if there's like a trash truck or a really loud revving car outside. Apologies in advance for that. But today, in today's episode, very excited for this one, I'm going to be doing an in-depth review that's also going to include some spoilers as well on Jordan Peele's latest film, Nope, that stars Daniel Kaluuya, Keke Palmer, and Steven Yeun. And again, full disclosure, I will be delving heavily into spoilers for this film. So if you haven't seen this movie, I highly recommend that you watch it and then come back and watch this film or this video, because again I'll be going over some key plot points from the film. But if you don't want to, you don't have to. You can just sit back, relax, and enjoy my 2 cents on this film. Again, I'll be just covering some themes, some analysis, and my interpretations overall of what I saw from the film. So again, I wasn't going to do a full episode, but I just feel like I have so much to talk about that I wouldn't be able to just make it a side segment on a podcast episode. So I just said, you know what? What the heck? I might as well just make it a full episode. So yeah, basically I'll just be talking about the film. First and foremost, I just wanted to go over like a couple things that I liked about the film. In terms of look and shots of how the movie was filmed, I really loved it. I love the fact that I'm a big fanboy for all things IMAX. The majority of the shots in this film were filmed in IMAX. And after watching several Christopher Nolan movies, I'm an IMAX fanboy, aside from also being a Christopher Nolan fanboy. And actually, cool little tidbit, the cinematographer for this film, Hoyte van Hoytema, is actually a regular cinematographer for Christopher Nolan. He's actually done cinematography for the last 4 Christopher Nolan movies that he's done. So when I saw in the opening credits of the film that he was DP, I was just like, oh, this. I was reassured that this movie would look amazing. And again, Jordan Peele was mentioning that for the nighttime films, it was the first time that they've captured it in camera in such a way that looks realistic. And I think the nighttime shots are practical, aside from it being color corrected, because it is nighttime obviously, but all the shots look very practical aside from the alien ship obviously. But I love that, and I love the fact that and in several interviews Jordan Peele has mentioned that big inspirations for this film were Close Encounters and Jaws. And you really do hear with Michael Abel's amazing score for this film, the little tidbits of suspense that really prelude and really relate to Jaws. I love that. Um, one thing that I did like, but also did not like about the film in terms of story and plot points was the chimpanzee storyline. Um, so again, it at the beginning of the film and throughout the film, this pertains specifically to Stephen Yoon's character, his backstory. Um, he was a child actor who acted on a family sitcom TV show called Gordy's Home. And there is one specific episode called Gordy's Birthday where there's a chimpanzee in this TV show, in this family dynamic. It's, again, very cheesy, very 90s, very sitcom Friends-esque, and there's like a family that includes this chimpanzee named Gordy. And in this specific episode, the the chimpanzee who plays Gordy just loses it, and for 6 minutes he goes on a murderous rampage, basically killing most of the principal cast except for Stephen Yoon's character. And this kind of sets up why he believes that he's able to somehow control the alien later on in the film, and feeds the Haywood Ranch, which is the ranch that Daniel Kaluuya and Keke Palmer and you know, their father owned. After falling on like hard financial times, that's where they have to sell their horses basically to Stephen Yoon's character, and he basically feeds the horses to the aliens, as you later find out and piece together later on in the story. I do get that they were trying to set up the tone of the story at the beginning when they set that up, but I feel like there would have been a better way. It was just kind of left field out of nowhere, and really kind of distracted us from the main antagonist of the film, which was the alien, which we'll get into later. But it was just a minor thing for me. I didn't mind it. Watching it in IMAX again, because when the whole shot plays out, there are balloons that are popping, and every time they popped, it was left field out of nowhere and scared the crap out of me, because it's just like a random pop, 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 and it's just like, oh my goodness. So, it was all right. And I also love the fact that this movie is kind of an ode to, Hollywood in itself. The silent movement of the alien ship is kind of, the way that I see that is it's basically kind of a prelude to old silent movies in Hollywood before sound was incorporated into films. And the whole setup of the horse ranch and Daniel Kaluuya's character OJ basically being one of the main people who tries to get video evidence of the alien, that in itself was kind of like a hero arc from a Western film, and I loved it. And of course, I give a lot of credit to Jordan Peele for making this original idea as well written as it was, and putting it on the screen. And first and foremost, I like this. Out of the 3 films that he's put out so far, I think that this is his best film, in my opinion. A main reason being that the key messages in the film were not a big distraction. I feel like that was the big problem with with Us and Get Out. I felt like the underlying messages were a little bit too obvious and kind of was distracting from the overall plot of the story. But I feel like with this film, the messages and story are well balanced, and it was really nice to see, and I like that. So again, going into some of the key themes of the film, I feel like first and foremost, one key theme that the movie focuses on, and that a lot of people are saying what this film is about spectacle. And again, literally in spectacle, this film is captured in IMAX and stuff like that. But aside from that, um, it it really does say that a lot of people in today's world um, are obsessed with spectacle and recording it and wanting to be a part of it. Examples of social media, wanting to take a picture, take a selfie, be a part of it, even if that spectacle is something that is, violent, that is negative, that is chaotic. I don't know. I was talking to someone else about this. Kind of an example of this is a car accident on the side of the freeway. Both cars are on fire, and people will actually slow down to, they will they will cause a traffic, stop just to slow down and look at it. Granted, I'm sure that these people are wondering that the people in said car accident are okay, but it's just, in some rare instances, people will take photos of it. Or, they'll be like, oh my goodness, this car accident's so crazy. I want to record this, blah, blah, blah. So, it's, again, this obsession. The movie tries to exemplify that there are some people who are they're obsessed with wanting to capture and be a part of that spectacle, even if that spectacle will consume them or will kill them. Again, it's a little bit dramatic, but that's the point is that the obsession with spectacle is what I'm trying to get to. And again, this relates at the beginning of the story with Gordy's incident when the chimpanzee, goes crazy. And not only is Stephen Yeun's character traumatized by that, but he says that, later on in the film, he explains, that it's not just him, but like a lot of people, it's become a cult following. That people want to know more about this incident and want to, he believes that he can, kind of, he can capitalize on that spectacle. And again, this kind of makes it, this justifies his actions. Well, it doesn't justify it, but it explains why he's, he thinks that he can tame this UFO, which is very much so within itself an animal, a supernatural animal, and again capitalize on it, and via feeding the horses, like he can tame that, like he can control it, and he can keep the fame and the fortune for himself. But of course, when you see in the film, it backfires crazily when, everyone, him and, innocent bystanders just get eaten. And it's, it really does go back to that message of, again, people are willing to go to crazy lengths, even if that spectacle will try and kill you. So, and again, going into symbolism in this film, the beginning of the film when OJ's dad dies, when the objects are falling from the sky, I thought it was very interesting that so there's a key that gets impaled in one of the horse's ghost, and there's a quarter that impales OJ's dad in his eye. And my interpretation that the quarter going through his dad um, kind of shows that, you know, it's people paying for entertainment, even if said entertainment it kills people. And it kind of talks about how underappreciated people are given in the showbiz industry, in the entertainment industry. Um, and they're paid, sometimes underpaid, to do like these borderline, example, stunt people when they're, you know, paid to do these insanely dangerous stunts, even if, you know, they're at risk of, you know, getting killed or liable of getting killed. But again, they won't. They're willing not to get any responsibility for that. Um, I didn't exactly pick up on what symbolistically the key going impaling the horse meant, but I felt like it was kind of like a very weird. I don't know. I felt like it was a very weird symbol towards horses. Like, you need a key to start a car, but obviously, a horse is not mechanical. So I felt like it was, you know, our world becoming increasingly more digitized and more mechanical. Um, that some things, I mean, yes, most things are starting to become automated, but there are just some things that are preferred to stay natural in its natural order than, um, than just, being forced to go through that digital age. And again, that's what OJ's interpretation of the alien ship on why it's, tormenting them and all the people in the area. He explains that the alien is territorial. And again, it is actually a direct reference to Ghost when Ghost is in the arena that's, in the outfields of the ranch and is, hoofing and, making sounds. And OJ's dad says that's Ghost being territorial. So I feel like that was kind of a segue into what that message meaning meant. And also another interesting note that I wanted to mention was that the whole, more so the mouth of the alien ship, people actually say that with that appearance, it actually represents a camera. And it's, if you really think about it, it's kind of interesting to think that the alien is the ship is observing humanity, and mocking, almost in a mocking way, trying to, with its reflection of that camera, kind of depict which is more of an animal, me or humans. So I felt like that was also very an interesting, um, again, it's kind of almost ridiculing humanity's obsession for spectacle. And it's even more terrifying when you look at it this way, when the alien ship, midway through the film, parks itself on top of the Haywood Ranch house and just starts bleeding blood, like almost like it's marking its territory in some sick way. But again, that was one of the many amazing shots in this film. And on talking about the alien ship, I actually really loved the design of the ship. It looks very, extraterrestrial looking based on what we know, and actually follows most of the overrated tropes that we know of aliens, from films, from quote unquote alien sightings. I love that Angel, one of the characters who sets up the cameras to try and capture evidence, videographic evidence of the aliens, or of the ship. I love it how he explains, he mentions one of the videos in 2016 that the Pentagon released, and it's like the movie in itself, you know, embraces and addresses that absurdity of, yeah, I don't know if this video is real or if it's a hoax. So I love that. Um, and I loved at the end of the film that, the it kind of opens up into like a jellyfish. And again, that's kind of almost like another contradictory trope similar to the key impaling the horse. It's very contradictory to in terms of symbolism, because a jellyfish you only see in the water, but it's in the sky. So it was very cool to see. And like OJ says in the film, it really does act like a predator. It moves with caution. It moves and hides in the clouds, and it waits and it almost plans before making its move to kill its prey. Um, but toward the end of the film, it actually tries running away, because it it gets stuck into the trap that the main character set up, but it almost kind of realizes last minute, oh shit, this is a trap, and tries running away, and it dies, and it's kind of hilarious that this predator sets it up to be a big bad, and then it's just like it's kind of a coward in the end. So it was it was kind of hilarious. And another thing that I liked is it's very quiet. Again, it adds to that sense of stealth and being cautious, and it only chooses to be loud. It does like have throughout the movie. There's like only a couple times where it actually blares its horn, almost like it's screaming this attack cry, and I feel like that's just kind of a way of it making itself known only when it wants to be known, when people should be afraid, and when it wants to be like, I'm here, I'm going to kill you. So it was I really like that. And again, going to the characters, so I already kind of talked about Stephen Yeun's character. Another thing that I also wanted to add is, I actually caught this a second viewing. There's like a meeting that he has with OJ, basically because they're trying to discuss selling another horse. And at one point he says, just to make them feel comfortable in the office, he says, su casa e mi casa. And again, that might just be, he doesn't know the correct phrase, so he's just coming off as awkward. But actually, if you think about it, again, the phrasing means your house is my house. And that, I think, was kind of foreshadowing that he wanted to buy, and again, OJ explains to his sister that he wanted to buy the Haywood Ranch. So that's kind of like a foreshadowing to the fact that he wanted to buy the whole property so he could very much so corner the market of having more control of the UFO, because the UFO, ground zero is the Haywood house itself, which is what I assumed. So that was pretty interesting. But I really love the acting between Daniel Kaluuya and Keke Palmer of, their dynamic as siblings that they were able to capture. And it's never, what I really loved about this is that from their acting, you can tell that OJ is the older sibling and Kiki Palmer M, that's her name in the film, is the younger sibling. And I love that this is conveyed and shown rather than told outright to us. It's never actually, I don't think it's ever told, you know, obviously directly to the audience that, hey, I'm the older sibling, you're the younger sibling. I love that it's just conveyed that way via their acting. And I kind of relate to this with my second older sister, and I was talking to her, and I said that I really love that, and I felt like the relationship that's conveyed in the film is very similar to our relationship. Yes, we're always, most of the time, sometimes we're not on the same page and we go through our rough trials and tribulations, but at the end of the day, we're there for each other. We got each other's backs. And they showed this in the dynamic is exactly like this in this film, so it kind of hit home personally for me in some ways. And again, in an aesthetic note, like like halfway through the film when they're explaining that me and my brother both teamed up, that's what M's character says. They do a really cool handshake, and I vibed with it so hard. It was it made me like chuckle a little bit, and I love that. And also on going towards talking more about Kiki Palmer's character, as another aesthetic scene that I really love was towards the end where she goes into Jupe's Claim, which is like the little artificial town set up for Stephen Yeun's character. It's like kind of like an old western town. And the last third of the film, it's basically kind of like ground zero for their trap to lure the alien into. And she's driving a motorbike, and she actually does this really cool power slide it's very much so similar to a shot in the film Akira. And I loved it. I love that shot because I was just like, Kiki Palmer was the comedic relief overall of this film, and she was very relatable. All the characters were very much so relatable, but her especially I loved. And another character that I really have to shout out is Angel. Angel is he's the person who, unintentionally hops on this wild journey of trying to capture a UFO on film. And I love him because I personally would logically act like him. I would be so freaked out, that I would be like him. I would be saying, holy shit, this is real. That's a real alien. And, he also is the comedic relief of this film. And it's and on the subject of, being genuinely freaked out, I was genuinely freaked out of how this alien ship eats people. Because the arena, like the arena sequence where everyone gets eaten, including Stephen Yeun's character, it's, from what we're shown, it's claustrophobic, and I actually didn't know this, but it actually, its stomach or its digestive tract or whatever, it basically burns and decomposes like the bodies. So I was just like, wow, that has gotta be, in my opinion, the most not only terrifying but probably the most painful way to die. So that was really terrifying to think about. But it was a lot of characters. Well, there are two sequences in this film involving OJ that really taught that I could relate to the audience and be like, yeah, I would totally do that in that situation. And that is a sequence when he goes to the barn, the barnyard for where the horses stay, and encounters the fake aliens, which are just Stephen Yoon's kids in his family, that are trying to prank the Haywood Ranch, like OJ and his sister. And I just love outright he, like, when there's an alien like right behind him, one of the fake aliens tries to like scare him, he straight up punches him, and I'm like, yeah, I would do that. I would genuinely do that. But I love that. And another sequence where it there's, I would totally act in the same way that he would, is when the alien ship hovers right over his car, and he kind of peeps the door open a little bit and sees the alien ship is right there, and he just closes it and just says, nope, nope. And then he just later on lurches over and like puts the car lock on. I was just like, yeah, I would do all of that and then some. So I love that. And again, one of the most amazing scenes in this film, that kind of conveys how awesome this film is, in my opinion, is it's called the run sequence, but it's basically all of them basically trying to get, video, like film proof of the alien in a vulnerable position, before it realizes it's a trap and then just takes off. And I love this shot. It's kind of spoiled in the trailer, but it's basically OJ on one of the horses, basically, has, with a whole bunch of kites and balloons, basically, and I'm spacing out on the name, but it's basically via a whole bunch of like visual distractions for that UFO to not realize that it's a trap. It's basically, for them again to get like videographic proof, and the whole shot is it's so amazing. And again, I highly recommend that you watch the film yourself to see what scene I'm talking about, because words cannot describe how awesome this shot was. It was amazing. And again, if you are going to watch this film, I highly suggest you watch it in IMAX to witness the sheer scope of the film. And again, the originality in the script, and that give the themes and meanings from that script, make this by far, in my opinion, one of the best movies this year. This is, again, probably one of the best films, in my opinion, that Jordan Peele has made. And again, I like the fact that, the messages don't outweigh both the spectacle and the story and plot of the film. So again, if I were to rate this movie out of a 10, I'd rate it at least an 8.5. Yeah, let's go 8.5 out of 10. I highly recommend it. And yeah. Alright, guys, that's gonna do it for today's episode, this week's episode of Weirdest of the Weird podcast. If you like what you're hearing, and if you want to make any suggestions on what to talk for me to talk about next, be sure to leave a comment down below. Be sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you on the flip side.